You might have seen a man committing a robbery in a bar in medieval England, but heaven forbid you see him with a short codpiece. English King Henry VIII was a true masculine symbol in his time, and he set the trend for wearing a codpiece. It's like a little pouch protruding from men's trousers. This was a genuine fashion trend that became popular in the 15th century. The king certainly embraced it wholeheartedly. You'll struggle to find his portrait without a codpiece. Even his armor, displayed in the Tower of London, features a huge metal codpiece weighing over 2 pounds, which would certainly make one look super cool on the battlefield. You still think it was something like Skechers with wheels or sagging pants. The codpiece had a practical side too. As you may know, knights often relieved themselves without removing their armor, as it required considerable time and effort. The codpiece solved this problem. It could be removed for urination. Unfortunately, there was no equivalent for the backside. Looks like I've got plans if I find myself in the 15th century. Again, just open it like this and you can poop comfortably. Okay, now I'll tell you about quantum field theory and supercomputers. And women, seeing this, went crazy. No wonder the king had 6 wives, although 2 of them were later beheaded. Since the codpiece fashion thrived in Europe until the 16th century, imagine how many variations it had. Whenever you think nothing can get crazier, Google it. German codpieces are especially insane. What were they trying to say? If codpieces seem strange to you, listen further. Pointy shoes. You've definitely seen those paintings with guys in pointy shoes. Ever wonder why that was popular? Pointy-toed shoes were worn by everyone, men and women alike. This fashion trend was taken to the extreme. Typically, the tips were no more than half the length of the shoe itself, but the wealthy could wear tips up to 40 inches long, sometimes even having to tie them to their legs. These shoes were suitable for all occasions, from going out or home, used to battle. Knights wore real pointy battle shoes to look fierce and dangerous. The knights of Duke Leopold III of Austria often wore them while on horseback. However, in one battle where they couldn't ride their horses and had to fight on foot, they had to cut off the tips of their shoes and just discard them to move and fight more comfortably.
All right, time to go to battle. Hey, Martin, let's go. Martin? Hey, what the fuck?
Pointy shoes, known as Krakow's, finally went out of fashion in the 1480s. I'd love to see a fairy tale where the prince searches for Cinderella, who lost not a dainty slipper, but a crystal Krakow. If these shoes don't seem strange to you and you want to shock everyone with your look, there's always Mexican pointy-toed guarachero boots for that occasion. You're welcome. Let's move on. The limp and what caused it. Up until the early 20th century, it was incredibly fashionable and sexy for women in Europe to have a limp. This could be seen everywhere, women struggling to walk down the street, each step marked by an awkward limp. But just pretending to limp stylishly wasn't enough. Women wore shoes of different sizes and heights for a more authentic effect. But how did this global trend even begin? Let me introduce you to Alexandra of Denmark. The Princess of Wales was a 19th century fashion icon, adored by the public and considered a trendsetter. This meant that to look like royalty, people would blindly follow her, much like K-pop stars or American rappers today, but in the 19th century. Alexandra introduced a radically new style, dresses with collars, chokers, and numerous necklaces. All of this actually hid the scars she had from childhood. But no one cared about that. The important thing was that the queen wore it, so we needed it too. When Alexandra had a severe bout of rheumatism in 1867, causing her to limp for a long time, English ladies also began to limp. After all, that's how the princess walked. Soon, all of London was limping down the streets as if stepping on scattered Lego pieces. Soon enough, crafty shoemakers realized they could profit from this and started making shoes with heels of different sizes to help the upper class. Walking in such shoes was so uncomfortable that any cripple would offer to help you get home. Like most trends, Alexandra's limp faced its share of criticism. The media frequently condemned the women's antics, calling it mockery and ridicule. The fashion soon died out, but luckily, women had another way to limp. Tight skirts that restricted their movement, much like the hobble skirts used to prevent horses from running away. The idea of the hobble skirt was created by French designer Paul Poiret, whose design quickly complemented the corset as a staple of high fashion. Some say he got the idea from the first woman to fly a plane, who tied a rope around her skirt to keep it from blowing up in the wind. As we all know, a trend isn't truly a trend unless someone dies from it. One woman drowned after falling off a bridge in New York. But don't worry, deaths from limping were not common, as the start of World War I quickly diminished its popularity due to its impracticality for wartime. Thank you, World War I, for saving many lives. Buttoning rules. We'll start with the phrase, sometimes, always, never. This rule states that the bottom button of a jacket should never be fastened. You can wear socks with sandals, but never fasten the bottom button of your jacket. But where did this strange rule come from? Is it a remnant of some old cultural custom rooted in a unique tradition? Not at all. It's because of King Edward VII, who struggled with obesity. When jackets were just coming into fashion, the vest became too tight for the future king, and he simply couldn't button the bottom button. The British court picked up on this, and soon all the residents of England and the British colonies followed that. Everyone stopped buttoning the bottom button, thereby expressing respect and remembrance to this day. I don't know about him, but I personally do it because of these guys. Or this one. Or these, to be honest. But jacket buttoning rules are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to fashion trends. Huge wigs. Now let's talk about macaronis. Not the delightful tubular pasta of varying diameters and lengths, but the quirky fashionistas who invented hairpieces as headwear. This term referred to gentlemen who fanatically sought to emulate everything Italian and as brightly as possible. These whimsical gentlemen held on to this style for over 2 centuries. Notably, not everyone understood fashion, and most people ridiculed this trend. Macaronis shocked everyone with their bright, eccentric looks, and if you saw them, you'd initially think they were local clowns. So ridiculous did they look. Macaronis were the heralds of men's fashion of their time, unabashedly embracing their extravagance. The main problem with such wigs was lice and hygiene. Often, such headgear genuinely stank and could be infested with lice. Poor men, how they suffered for fashion, right? Not quite. After this video, watch one about crazy trends on this channel, and you'll be surprised by what women had to endure. Sagging pants. If you're from the States, you're definitely familiar with this entrenched fashion trend, popular for the past 30 years, regardless of the season. You might think they simply can't afford a belt, but no, even with a belt, they still sag their pants. There are several reasons for this. In the 90s, America faced significant issues, and many people ended up in prison. One theory is that they lost a lot of weight there, but weren't given belts to prevent accidents. So the habit of wearing sagging pants persisted. Then, young people, always in the know about such trendy movements, picked it up. Another theory is that it originated from the hood, where people didn't have enough money to buy a belt. They used ropes to keep their pants up, but the ropes often broke, causing the pants to sag. When authorities saw everyone walking around without belts on the streets, they wanted to ban it, but as a form of protest, even more people started wearing sagging pants. Thus, it became established. Later, rappers incorporated it into their styles, creating a cool image and setting a trend for others to follow. This led to even more people adopting the style. I'm sure there will be viewers who won't find such a style strange. They will be able to understand how astonishing fashion can be, as all the trends in this video were once considered normal for people. For those who watched this video till the end, here's an idea for a prank. Suggest a random, fictional, historical trend in the comments that supposedly shocked you from the video. This will make other viewers' eyes widen and encourage them to watch the video as well. This could fill the comments with crazy things. To be fair, here are a few real medieval outfit pictures. So, if today's fashion trends seem overly silly to you, remember, it's been this way throughout all times and eras.